Former Ring Boys join explosive lawsuit against WWE. Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon. The truth finally emerges. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got some truly surprising and heartwarming news from the WWE Universe. In a bombshell development that has shaken the foundation of WWE, a group of former Ring Boys, men who once worked behind the scenes in the 1980s and 1990s, have stepped forward with explosive new allegations. Not only are they joining the growing list of plaintiffs in a lawsuit targeting WWE, but they are directly implicating Vince McMahon and, shockingly, Linda McMahon herself. What was once whispered in dark corners of wrestling lore is now front-page news. And this time, WWE may not be able to dodge accountability. The return of a dark chapter. To understand the weight of what's happening, we need to go back, decades back. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, WWE, then known as WWF, was booming. Wrestling was becoming mainstream. Hulkamania was running wild. But behind the curtain, a scandal was brewing. Several Ring Boys, young men hired to help with ring setup and backstage duties, began to allege that they had been sexually abused by powerful men in the company. One of the names that surfaced early was longtime WWE employee Mel Phillips. Allegations against him and others were disturbing. Stories of inappropriate touching, grooming, and silence. Some claimed they were threatened to stay quiet. Others were paid off. The scandal briefly caught media attention in the early 90s, but was quickly buried. Until now, a new lawsuit emerges. In 2025, a federal lawsuit was filed that named WWE and Vince McMahon as defendants, accusing them of decades-long misconduct, systemic abuse, and cover-ups. And now, the case has exploded once again, with the addition of former Ring Boys as official plaintiffs. Their statements paint a horrific picture, that they were abused by WWE staffers, that complaints to management were ignored, and worst of all, that Vince and Linda McMahon knew and did nothing. The lawsuit alleges that these young men were not only victims, but that their abuse was deliberately covered up to protect WWE's image. And for the first time, Linda McMahon is officially named as a co-conspirator. Who are the Ring Boys? So who were the Ring Boys? They were often teenagers, sometimes even younger, hired locally to help WWE events run smoothly. They carried gear, set up rings, ran errands for wrestlers, and worked long hours. To the outside world, they were just staff. But backstage, they were vulnerable. Some of them claimed they were targeted by older men in positions of power. They were invited to private hotel rooms, told to earn their keep, promised future jobs or wrestling opportunities. In return, they were subjected to grooming and abuse. And they didn't speak out because they were afraid. Afraid of being blackballed. Afraid no one would believe them. Until now, Vince and Linda implicated. What makes this lawsuit so explosive is that it goes far beyond naming individual abusers. It names Vince McMahon, not just as a negligent executive, but as an active participant in the cover-up. According to new testimony, complaints were raised directly to WWE leadership. Internal memos allegedly warned of risk management concerns. And Linda McMahon, who served as president of WWE during much of this time, is said to have signed off on confidential settlements. If these claims are true, they implicate both Vince and Linda in knowingly enabling abuse to protect WWE's empire. And now, attorneys for the plaintiffs are demanding accountability, not just in civil court, but possibly criminal. The cover-up culture. One of the core accusations in the lawsuit is that WWE operated with a culture of silence. Whistleblowers were punished, victims were ignored, and anyone who asked too many questions disappeared. One former employee stated, "If you complained, you were out. There was no HR. There was just Vince. And if Vince didn't like what you were saying, your job was gone." This toxic environment, the lawsuit claims, allowed abuse to fester unchecked for years. It wasn't just about the original crimes. It was about the lengths WWE allegedly went to hide them. And now, with the Ring Boys stepping forward, the entire system is under scrutiny. A trail of settlements. As investigators dig deeper, a troubling pattern has emerged: confidential settlements. Legal documents suggest that WWE, under Linda McMahon's leadership, paid out multiple undisclosed settlements to silence victims. Some involved NDAs. Others were under the table. But all were designed to make one thing happen: make the stories go away. Attorneys now argue that these settlements are proof of guilt and a direct violation of laws protecting minors and whistleblowers. There are calls for the court to void the NDAs and allow full testimony. If that happens, we may see an avalanche of new names and new claims. The fight for justice. The ring boys coming forward today are no longer children. They're adults, and they're angry. Many say they spent decades in silence, haunted by trauma, PTSD, and shame. They watched as WWE grew into a billion-dollar empire. They watched Vince McMahon become a celebrity. They watched Linda McMahon run for political office, while they lived with pain and secrecy. But now they are united. They are speaking with one voice. And they want one thing: justice. Not just for themselves, but for the hundreds of others who may never get the chance to speak. WWE's response. As of now, WWE's response has been calculated and corporate. A spokesperson issued a brief statement, saying, WWE takes all allegations seriously and will cooperate with any legal proceedings. The company has always prioritized the safety of its employees and contractors. But that response is not enough for the plaintiffs. They're demanding depositions from Vince and Linda McMahon. They want Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and other executives to testify under oath. And if this lawsuit moves forward, it could become one of the most damning public trials in wrestling history. Because this time, the world is watching. The fallout begins. Already, the lawsuit is having ripple effects. Sponsors are pulling back. Media outlets are re-examining past coverage. And WWE's board is reportedly under intense pressure to launch an internal review. Meanwhile, political watchdogs are asking questions about Linda McMahon's role in Donald Trump's cabinet and whether she failed to disclose her involvement in past settlements. This story is no longer just a wrestling scandal. It's a corporate scandal, a political scandal, a human rights scandal, and it's only just beginning. The former ring boys who joined this lawsuit are doing what few had the courage to do in the past. They're breaking the silence. They're holding powerful people accountable. And they're shining a light on the darkest chapter in WWE's history. For years, they were invisible. But now, they're being heard. Vince McMahon may have stepped down. Linda McMahon may be silent. But this lawsuit is a wake-up call. The truth is out. The victims are speaking. And for WWE, there may be no running from the past this time. Former ring boys join explosive lawsuit against WWE. Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon. The truth finally emerges. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got some truly surprising and heartwarming news from the WWE universe. In a bombshell development that has shaken the foundation of WWE, a group of former ring boys, men who once worked behind the scenes in the 1980s and 1990s, have stepped forward with explosive